Good morning, friends and fellow flyers. I hope everybody's having a good morning. And I've not made my coffee yet, but I'm going to show you where I'm at with my model. Well, I took me a little burr bit for my Dremel. I drilled me out a little hole here. And I put the clay in here and I packed in the clay. And I added my propeller. And I put my model on a balance stand and I added the clay until I had the balance with my prop. And I'm going to make myself a 1/8 inch. I'm going to start with a 1/8 inch by 12 inch rubber band. And I'm going to use the original 5D prop. Now you might want to change your prop, you might not. But I'm going to start with my original prop to see how it works. But before I go to the field, I want me some down thrust shims or down thrust washers. Used to, they would send a little build booklet with your kit. I don't know if I have any of those laying around here anywhere. And the Gillows company would show you the little washer. Let's make one of those. Okay, I'm gonna tilt you down here to the table, and I've got my set of plans here, and I've took some scissors, and you can see I used a little bit of paper here. Okay, now I'm gonna take a scrap of wood I just cut off of this piece of wood here, and you can see how thick it is. It's the one I have sanded, done a sand release. So this here is this, I think it's about a 1/32 thickness, or you could say it's a 1/20 of size. So I'm going to glue this to the paper because the paper makes it strong enough to use as a you know, use as the shim. If I don't put it on paper, then it becomes really brittle. And I'm going to use CA glue here. This is a medium thickness CA. Now you can use PVA, but to make the video a little faster, I'm going to use CA so that it will dry quicker. PVA or Elmer's glue or Type Bond will work just as good as the super glue. But I'm going to put it on here, as you can see, rub it around on this paper, making sure that it's stuck to the paper nicely. And once it has fully stuck to the paper, you can see it's stuck very well. This is a 1964 drill bit. That is the size of the thrust bearing of the Gillows kit. That's a 19. So I don't try to turn the drill in the direction of making a hole. I turn it backwards. So I'm going to set it here in the middle, and I'm going to turn it backwards. I don't know why. You don't ask me how it works, but it will make a nice little dention in the wood, and it don't rip it out. It don't kind of pull out chunks if you turn it backwards. Now if you go forwards, it might not. So I've just made a nice little indention, and then I'm going to go the other side if I can find where that went through. And I'm going to make me another indention. And what this does, it makes a hole. And I can rock it back and forth, but mostly backwards, spinning it backwards. And then I get these, hopefully I won't stick it to, I'll get that hole started on both sides. Now, with that hole started, I can take my X-Acto knife for a little bit. I can just twist it if I need to. See how I'm getting a hole in here? And I want as close as I can to the exact size of this 1964 drill bit. I want it as close as I can to that size. So I'm going to keep piddling here, try not to go too fast, because it will break. They will break out, and you've wasted your effort. So to make it easier, I've got sandpaper glued to a little bamboo skewer. So once I get my hole started, then I'll have to keep going a little bit bigger till I can get this bamboo skewer in here. Just have to be patient. Don't try to go too fast. And keep working at it. Be gentle, it'll rip it apart if you don't. I'm doing it on the paper side. Now I've got the bamboo skewer started here, and then my sandpaper went in there. There we go. And I wanted to keep sanding this out until I get it a snug fit for that drill bit. I'll keep going. Try to keep it centered on that. Be careful, I don't want to break it after all that effort. I also like setting it on something that's soft. Here's a block of balsa that I've made a sand block on. I can turn it to the back side here, and then that way I can keep a piddling at it. Turning the bit backwards. I don't know how that works, but it works. Turning the bit backwards. And press down a little bit. Turn it over. Turn the bit backwards. You can turn it forward too, but just be careful. It'll grab it and break it. You don't want to break it. If you go forward, it's very gentle, mainly backwards. Okay, that's getting there. These just gently sand. Take your time. Spin it backwards. Like spinning it backwards, it just does somehow it works. Does anybody else drop anything? I tend to drop stuff. If you drop your model, don't try to grab it. Don't try to grab your model. That is a surefire way to squish your model. Let it drop all the way to the ground, reach down and pick it up. That's also good with science, because if you drop a glass bottle, you don't want to grab it. You want to let it hit the ground. If it breaks, it breaks. Then take some brooms and sweep it up. Or if it has chemicals in it, you could hurt yourself. So don't try to grab anything. So how close am I getting? I'm getting really close here to having this done. Let's keep spinning it backwards, pushing into the balsa wood. We'll get through here in a minute. It'll be fine. All right. Let's see how close we are. Very close. Spin it backwards. Okay, I'll spin it backwards. I didn't spin it forward to get it through that hole. All right, that is a 1964 drill bit, which is the exact same size of a Gillows thrust bearing. Now I'm going to take a Gillows thrust bearing. I have extra ones, but if you don't have extra one, this is something you might plan before you assemble your thrust bearing and prop. If you but if I happen to have may happen to have an extra one, so we build a lot of kits. So I say I had extra ones, but I don't see one. Maybe I've used them. I got some extra wheels. Oh, I see. I see one. I see one. I think I see one. Nope. Yep. Okay, here's one. There's one. I saved a few items along the way. Okay, there's an old thrust bearing, but it should be the same size. And I want to test fit the hole. And it looks like it's going to be a snug fit, and that's what I want. I want it to be a very tight, snug fit. I want it to be a good, snug fit. So let's go just a little bit backwards, just a little bit more, and back and forth. All right. Come on, let go. There's the buttons are fatter at one side than they are at the other side. So when you get them in there, it tend to be a little more relaxed. So just be okay. All right. Now it went on. See, it goes on here. And then I'm going to take scissors. And I'm making me a little bearing. A little bit before I go all the way. Well, I'll just go ahead and clean it all the way off. Okay. There's me a little washer now. That's not a nice fit washer. I'm going to be taking that back off. Just gently work that back off. I'm using my X-Acto knife to gently push it back off. And I'm going to make me a couple of these. Because if I need more down thrust, I just add another one. And another one. Alright. There is my little washer. Now you want to look at the wood grain. The wood grain, if the wood grain is going this direction, then I want to sand parallel to the wood grain. I'm gonna get me some sandpaper. Now this is this is 80 grit sandpaper, and this is I think a 180 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna look at my wood grain. I'm gonna put my finger, the weight on that, to where when I sand it, I'm sanding it at an angle. I'm gonna sand it at an angle on the lighter sandpaper. Using coarser sandpaper will cause you to, damage your thrust bearing. One side you can sand flat, just to take away a burr, if you have any burrs on your paper. And then the other side, I'm looking to make sure which side I sanded. And then I'm putting my finger, I'm putting pressure on one side, trying not to sand the other side, to make myself this little wedge. See, it's really thin on one side, and it's going to be thick on the other side. This will hold your prop at an angle. You will have to take some, like this sandpaper here, and you'll have to sand the hole of where the thrust bearing goes, the back side of it, to let them, so you can, if you have a snug fit, then it won't rock back and forth. So you'll have to angle this hole a little bit if you decide to use that, so that your shim will work. So I have just made myself a little shim. Let me use a little rougher paper just to see it gets too sticky if you use too rough a paper. One side I'm just doing flat, the paper side's flat, and the wood side has got a bevel. There, so you can almost see the paper on one side, and then it's all wood on the other side. But I've just made myself a shim, and I'll make myself one more, so that if I need down thrust, I'll been able to I'll put it on here. I can put it on here. It has to be gentle with it. They will break, but that's why we put the paper on it, is to give it a little bit more strength. They'll be pushed on here, and that will keep my angle on my thrust bearing. That was the way to do a thrust bearing. Okay guys, I know this video was a little bit long, but that right there is one of the most important parts to getting your model to fly, is having that proper thrust bearing to get that control, the power. You've seen me go outside with my model and toss it like a glider. Absolutely no problem to fly a model without a prop. It will fly fine if it's within the payload. Yeah, I have let's see what our payload is on this plane. We have nearing to the end, so we'll find out. Okay, one side, the root of this thing is a 3.5. The wing tip is a 2. So let's say it's 2 inches all the way across. That makes it easy to do. You know it's past 2 over here, and you know it's 2 over here, so it's easy to say you got 2 by what? Just for an example, we've got a 2 inches by roughly 8 inches, leaving a little bit. Now that's being just taking the center part out. So what's 8 times 2? 16. Okay, times 2, that'd be 32. So 32 inches, and there's more than that there. I'm not using the whole wing. So if you're saying, see, it's almost like 3.5 inches, and then to 3.5 inches there. So there's probably another 2 inches over here. So that takes 32, makes it all right, 34 already. So when you can double that, it'd be 36. So you got a nice wing area on this model. But once you start getting above the payload, the glide gets harder to do. You go out and you go plump, and it's really hard to get that thing to really fly. Then you've got too heavy a model. You just got way too heavy a model. You needed to try to lose weight somehow in the model. Sand that thing down thinner, or whatever you need to do. Okay guys, I don't like making really long videos, but this is pretty much a necessary video. And you just have a good day. Bye.